Mercedes-Benz just dropped a bombshell so massive that it's sending shockwaves through the entire global car market. What looked like a quiet week in the auto world suddenly turned into an industry-wide meltdown after Mercedes made an announcement that automakers, investors, and even loyal customers never expected. And now everyone is scrambling to understand how this happened and what it means for the future of luxury vehicles as we know them. For years, Mercedes has been seen as the calm, steady giant of the luxury car world, a brand that rarely panics, rarely reacts, and never loses its grip on the market. But today, something broke. Mercedes confirmed a move that completely reverses the direction of its entire business strategy, sending a message that the luxury market is changing faster than anyone realized. This wasn't a small adjustment or a quiet policy update. This was a full-blown strategic detonation, and it's already forcing BMW, Audi, Lexus, Tesla, and even legacy American automakers to rethink their next steps. The shock began when Mercedes publicly admitted its biggest internal problem yet: slowing demand for luxury EVs, ballooning production costs, and a supply chain that can no longer keep up with the company's aggressive global expansion plans. Instead of hiding it, Mercedes ripped the bandage off and announced a sweeping overhaul, one that includes abandoning key EV models, rethinking its electric-first strategy, and drastically cutting prices on several flagship vehicles. Yes, you heard that right. Mercedes-Benz is slashing prices in a way the industry has not seen from them in decades. A brand famous for raising prices every year is suddenly discounting, and this single move has thrown the entire luxury segment into chaos. Dealerships across the US and Europe are already reporting a massive spike in inquiries, with customers who once thought Mercedes was out of their budget now rushing to lock in deals before the next wave of changes hits. Meanwhile, rival automakers are in full panic mode. BMW executives are reportedly calling emergency meetings. Audi is preparing a counter strategy, and Tesla, known for its aggressive price cuts, is suddenly the one reacting instead of leading. Mercedes has flipped the script, and the ripple effects are growing by the hour. But the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that something bigger is happening inside Mercedes. This isn't just a response to market pressure. It's a signal that the luxury car world is heading toward a major reset. The company is quietly shifting resources away from slow-selling EV platforms and doubling down on hybrids, high-margin combustion models, and next-generation performance vehicles designed to recapture the excitement buyers feel they've lost in the EV transition. It's a bold move that challenges everything the industry claimed the future would be, and it's already creating tension among automakers, governments, and environmental groups who pushed for full electrification at any cost. What's even more shocking is that Mercedes is also pausing several multi-billion-dollar factory expansions worldwide, stunning analysts who predicted never-ending growth. This pause indicates one thing: the luxury market is cooling off faster than expected, and Mercedes refuses to go down with the ship. Instead, they're restructuring, recalibrating, and pushing hard to stay ahead of a crisis that could swallow slower competitors whole. And while consumers celebrate lower prices, the real story behind the scenes is far more intense and far more dangerous for the rest of the industry. And while Mercedes is making these aggressive moves, dealership insiders are revealing that the company is preparing for something even bigger. Rumors suggest that an entirely new category of budget-friendly models might be coming, something Mercedes has not seriously attempted in decades. If true, this could completely disrupt the luxury hierarchy and erase the gap between premium and mass-market brands. But behind closed doors, industry analysts say Mercedes isn't making these decisions out of fear. It's doing it out of strategy. The company sees something coming that most automakers are still ignoring: a massive global slowdown in luxury spending that could wipe out brands that rely too heavily on high-priced EVs and unstable supply chains. Mercedes is positioning itself to survive the storm before it even hits. They're slashing costs, tightening operations, and gearing up for a sudden shift in consumer priorities. People want affordability, reliability, and performance, not complex EVs loaded with expensive software issues and sky-high repair bills. Mercedes is reading the room, and they're acting before it's too late. And here's where things get even more explosive. Reports coming out of Germany suggest that Mercedes engineers have been quietly working on a secret engine platform, one that was believed to have been canceled years ago due to the global EV push. But now, insiders claim that the project has been revived at full speed. If true, Mercedes may be preparing to unleash a new generation of ultra-efficient combustion engines that could completely reshape the next decade of automotive engineering. This move would be a direct challenge to governments that aggressively promote promoted EV-only futures, and it's already causing heated debates across regulatory circles. Mercedes is playing chess, not checkers, and the whole world is watching. Meanwhile, dealerships are preparing for a flood of inventory changes. Vehicles that were once positioned as premium EV flagships are being quietly discounted or phased out. Models expected to dominate the luxury EV market are suddenly being replaced by hybrids and performance-first vehicles that appeal to a different kind of buyer. And this shift is not happening next year, it's happening right now. Customers walking into showrooms today are being met with deals they never imagined possible just months ago. Some dealerships are even warning that these price cuts won't last long because Mercedes is trying to clear out entire production cycles before the next wave of redesigned vehicles arrives. But the real panic is happening among Mercedes' competitors. BMW is rushing engineers to reevaluate its Neue Klasse EV lineup. Audi is considering cost-cutting measures on multiple models. Lexus is preparing new incentives to avoid losing market share. Even Porsche, the king of the performance luxury segment, is reportedly rethinking its long-term EV roadmap after seeing Mercedes pull back so dramatically. This isn't just one company making adjustments. This is one company forcing the entire industry to rethink everything. And while the world is focused on the price cuts, the factory pauses, and the sudden strategic shift, a much bigger question is starting to rise. What exactly does Mercedes know that everyone else doesn't? Why would one of the most powerful luxury brands in the world risk shaking its entire business model unless they saw something massive coming down the pipeline? Some insiders believe Mercedes' internal data is showing signs of a global auto recession far deeper than what analysts have predicted. Others think the company has identified a major weakness in the EV market, one that could trigger widespread failure if left unchecked. Whatever the truth is, Mercedes is preparing aggressively, and the rest of the industry looks completely unprepared for what comes next. But here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. Several leaks from Mercedes' internal financial team suggest that the company is expecting a massive correction in EV valuations globally. In other words, the EV bubble, built on optimistic forecasts, government pressure, and inflated investor expectations, may be on the verge of bursting, and Mercedes does not want to be holding billions in unsold, overpriced EVs when that happens. So instead of pretending everything is fine, they're dumping inventory, restructuring operations, and pulling the plug on projects that no longer make financial sense. This is not panic, this is prevention. Mercedes is stepping out of the blast zone before the explosion hits. Meanwhile, major automotive suppliers, companies that depend on luxury brands like Mercedes, are suddenly signaling worry. Orders for certain EV components are being reduced, production quotas are being cut, and entire supply chains that were told to prepare for an EV-dominated future are now being told to slow down. This is creating shockwaves that extend far beyond Mercedes itself. Smaller suppliers are terrified, investors are confused, and some governments are scrambling to understand how one company's shift could destabilize an entire global strategy built around electrification. But Mercedes isn't slowing down in every area. In fact, while they pull back on EV projects, they're doubling down on innovation in others. Leaked internal documents suggest Mercedes is preparing to launch a new hybrid platform that could deliver performance numbers that challenge even the most advanced EVs, without the range anxiety, without the battery issues, and without the astronomical production costs. If Mercedes successfully pulls this off, it could be the technological turning point that redefines the next decade of luxury automobiles. At the same time, customers are reacting in ways Mercedes didn't fully expect. Social media is exploding with videos of people rushing to dealerships, comparing prices, and calling the new offers the best Mercedes deals in 10 years. Some buyers describe the discounts as once in a generation, and this sudden surge in demand is creating chaos on dealership lots. Cars that used to sit for weeks are disappearing in hours. Sales managers are calling headquarters asking for clarity, and competing dealerships from other brands are reporting cancellations, with buyers switching to Mercedes after seeing the price drops. But the most shocking development is what's happening inside the boardrooms of BMW, Audi, and Lexus, because these companies now fear that Mercedes is about to pull off a long-term strategy that could leave them years behind. If Mercedes pivots successfully, they could dominate both the luxury combustion market and the hybrid performance market simultaneously, while competitors are still stuck pouring billions into EV platforms that customers are no longer excited about. This kind of strategic foresight is rare, and it's exactly why Mercedes has remained one of the most powerful automakers on the planet for decades. But we're just scratching the surface, because new information suggests Mercedes is also preparing for a radical restructuring of its global network, one that could change how their cars are sold, priced, and delivered across every major country. And this is where things escalate even further. Insiders are now revealing that Mercedes is preparing to overhaul its dealership model in a way that could permanently reshape how luxury cars are sold. The company is considering a direct-to-consumer pricing system, similar to Tesla's strategy, but with the refinement, flexibility, and premium service experience that only Mercedes can deliver. If this happens, traditional dealerships could lose a huge amount of control over pricing, inventory, and even customer interactions. And the reaction behind the scenes is pure panic. Some dealer groups are calling emergency meetings, others are warning about lawsuits. But Mercedes seems unfazed, confident that a tighter, more transparent sales model will help stabilize the chaos unfolding across the luxury market. But the biggest shock came from leaked emails showing that Mercedes may be preparing to consolidate multiple factories and shift production to more efficient hubs. This is a monumental move. It means entire regions that have relied on Mercedes' manufacturing presence for decades could face major changes. Analysts say this isn't cost-cutting. This is battlefield positioning. Mercedes wants speed, efficiency, and global flexibility. They want to be able to pivot faster than any competitor if the market swings again. And right now, they're executing a restructuring plan that looks years ahead of what the rest of the industry is even thinking about. Meanwhile, investors are scrambling to understand what this sudden pivot means. Mercedes' stock is fluctuating wildly as analysts debate whether the company is collapsing or quietly engineering one of the smartest turnarounds in modern automotive history. And here's the twist. Many financial experts believe this move will give Mercedes a huge advantage in the long term. While other automakers are drowning in oversupply, slowing EV demand, and unsustainable development costs, Mercedes is cleaning house, cutting dead weight, and rebuilding its strategy from the ground up. But none of this compares to the most explosive rumor circulating right now. Mercedes is reportedly developing a new low-cost luxury line aimed directly at younger buyers in emerging markets. If true, this would be a massive break from tradition. Mercedes has always protected its luxury image carefully, avoiding anything that might dilute the brand. But now, faced with changing global economics and a new generation of customers that values affordability over prestige, Mercedes might be preparing to break the rules. And if they launch a new budget-friendly luxury lineup, it could destroy the competition overnight, especially brands like Acura, Infiniti, and Volvo, who rely heavily on entry-level luxury buyers. And as the industry tries to make sense of all this, something even more unsettling is happening. Automakers are beginning to quietly copy Mercedes' moves. BMW is reviewing its EV expansion timeline, Audi is analyzing its hybrid availability, Lexus is rethinking its pricing structure, even Tesla is reportedly assessing its global pricing to ensure it's not blindsided. It's rare, almost unheard of, for the entire luxury industry to pivot this quickly, and yet Mercedes has forced the shift with a single massive announcement. But this story is still unfolding, because new leaks indicate Mercedes has one more major revelation planned, something so big that it could disrupt not just the luxury market, but the entire automotive landscape. And now, sources close to the company are hinting that Mercedes' next announcement could be the most disruptive move yet. According to internal memos circulating among top executives, Mercedes is preparing to unveil a breakthrough technology that could redefine the balance between combustion engines and electric power, something far beyond a typical hybrid system. Engineers are calling it a dual-phase power architecture, a mysterious new design that promises unmatched efficiency, instant power delivery, and drastically lower production costs. If this is real, Mercedes may have found a way to blend the best parts of combustion and electric technology while avoiding the pitfalls that have slowed the global EV transition. At the same time, tech insiders are reporting that Mercedes' software division has undergone a complete reorganization. After years of being criticized for outdated infotainment systems and complicated interfaces, Mercedes has now partnered with several cutting-edge tech firms to create a unified software ecosystem, one that rivals Apple's fluidity and Tesla's responsiveness. This could give the brand a massive competitive edge, especially as customers demand smoother, smarter, and more reliable digital experiences in their vehicles. Early Early testers claim the new system is shockingly fast, incredibly intuitive, and a huge leap forward. This alone could sway thousands of buyers who previously avoided Mercedes due to software frustrations. But while Mercedes prepares for this technological leap, the global market is reacting in real time. Dealerships in Asia and the Middle East are reporting unprecedented demand spikes, with buyers rushing to secure vehicles before Mercedes' upcoming restructuring causes unpredictable pricing changes. Meanwhile, US dealers are sending urgent requests to the company, asking for clarity on inventory levels, expected model cuts, and upcoming allocations. It's a level of confusion and adrenaline rarely seen in the luxury market, and all of it points to the magnitude of what Mercedes is planning, and the ripple effect is growing. Rival car makers are now freezing investments, delaying launches, and scrambling to decode Mercedes' strategy. Analysts describe the industry as being in shock mode. Some insiders believe Tesla is preparing an aggressive counterstrike, possibly major price cuts or a surprise Model 3 refresh, to prevent Mercedes from seizing too much attention. BMW, on the other hand, is considering expanding its hybrid lineup to avoid being caught in the crossfire. It's clear that Mercedes has triggered something far bigger than a corporate pivot. They've set off a chain reaction that could reshape every luxury brand's roadmap over the next 5 years. But perhaps the most unsettling part is what's happening inside Mercedes' headquarters. Employees describe the atmosphere as intense but confident. Teams are working around the clock. Departments that haven't been touched in years are being completely rebuilt. Entire floors are being reassigned to new engineering projects. This is not a company panicking. This is a company preparing for war. Something major is coming, and Mercedes wants to be 3 steps ahead when it hits. And now, new leaks suggest that Mercedes is preparing to completely reevaluate its partnerships with battery suppliers, semiconductor manufacturers, and even global logistics companies. This could mean new long-term contracts, massive renegotiations, or the end of relationships that have existed for decades. If Mercedes restructures its supplier network, the shockwaves will spread across the entire automotive ecosystem, affecting manufacturing jobs, pricing, and production timelines worldwide. And this is where the situation becomes truly global. Supply chain analysts are now warning that Mercedes' restructuring could trigger a domino effect across dozens of industries. Battery suppliers in China, semiconductor manufacturers in Taiwan, and raw material vendors in Europe are suddenly on edge. Mercedes is one of the most influential buyers in the world. When they shift direction, entire markets move with them. If Mercedes lowers battery orders, prices could collapse. If they renegotiate semiconductor contracts, smaller automakers could get squeezed out of the market entirely. And if they change raw material sourcing, everything from steel prices to rare earth minerals could fluctuate almost overnight. But here's the part no one saw coming. Whispers from senior executives suggest that Mercedes is preparing to drastically expand its in-house manufacturing capabilities. This means fewer third-party suppliers, more vertical integration, and tighter control over production. This is a power move, one that mirrors Tesla's strategy, but executed with the precision and scale only Mercedes can deliver. If this is true, it would give Mercedes an unprecedented level of control over quality, pricing, and technology rollout. And that level of control could put enormous pressure on competitors who still rely heavily on outsourced parts and unstable global supply networks. Meanwhile, financial markets are reacting violently to every rumor. Hedge funds are repositioning, auto analysts are rewriting forecasts, and investment banks are warning clients that the luxury market may be entering its most volatile era in decades. And yet, despite all the noise, one undeniable pattern is emerging. Mercedes is not retreating, they're advancing. They're restructuring not to survive, but to dominate. And rival automakers are struggling to keep up with a strategy that seems to change by the week. But what's even more shocking is what insiders say Mercedes is planning in terms of design. Sources inside the company's flagship design studio in Stuttgart claim that Mercedes is preparing to unveil a completely new aesthetic language, something bold, aggressive, and radically different from the smooth, conservative look they've used for years. Early sketches describe sharper lines, larger proportions, and a futuristic interior concept that integrates AI-driven features directly into the cabin structure. Some insiders say this next-generation design language is so far ahead that it could instantly make current luxury models from BMW, Audi, and Lexus look outdated. And then comes the most explosive leak so far. Mercedes is reportedly considering merging two major divisions to accelerate development on what insiders are calling Project S, a top-secret vehicle platform rumored to combine high-performance engineering, hybrid flexibility, and groundbreaking software integration. If this is true, Project S could be Mercedes' attempt to create a new flagship vehicle, one that would rival Tesla's Cybertruck-level hype, but with the refinement and precision that defines the Mercedes legacy. Some say it could even become the new benchmark for the entire luxury segment. But while speculation grows, dealership managers around the world are facing a reality they've never experienced before. Inventory lists are changing daily, allocation numbers are shifting without warning, cars expected to arrive next month are suddenly delayed or redirected, and customers who placed orders months ago are now being contacted with updates that leave them stunned. Either their models are being discounted, upgraded, or in some cases discontinued entirely. It's chaos, but it's strategic chaos. Mercedes is clearing the board and preparing to rebuild it from scratch. And now, new documents leaked from internal planning meetings suggest that Mercedes' next move will target markets that have been historically difficult to dominate, regions where affordability, fuel efficiency, and durability matter more than prestige. Mercedes may be preparing to enter these markets with precision-engineered models designed to crush local competition and establish the brand in places it once struggled to reach.